as the war completes 6 months, with Prime Minister Netanyahu reiterating that there will be no let-up, new truce talks were held in Cairo. But Netanyahu told his cabinet that there will be no ceasefire without the return of hostages. Now, with pressure building up at home and globally, the question is, how far can Israel fight this war? Let me take this across to my guests on the show. General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation, is joining us. Pathikrit Pain, geopolitical analyst, is also joining us on Nation Tonight. Good evening. All right, Pathikrit, namaskar. Good evening. We will, of course, have General Katoch in a short while from now. But Pathikrit, 6 months into this war, there were truce talks that were held in Cairo. But what is coming off it is the fact that nothing came out of these truce talks yet again. How do you see this, really?
Unfortunate, but I also don't think that the Israelis will ever have any kind of truce with the Hamas. But if you look at it, Shreya, in the larger context, what happened on October 7th, it did give Israel the right to retaliate. But every conflict and battle has a shelf life. If you continue beyond that, it starts becoming counterproductive. It has its fatigue element which creeps in. And that is exactly what is happening in case of Israel now. There are 2-3 reasons for that. Number one, people beyond a point will not like it. It's a progressive economy. It does impact the entire, the economic metrics of the region. Secondly, there is a limitation to how many conflicts simultaneously Israel can fight. What happened in Damascus and the potential possibility of Iran also directly coming in and not anymore through the proxies, it has a dangerous ramification. Last but not the least, can Israel afford to entirely sour its relation with some of the progressive Arab states of the region, including UAE or Jordan or Saudi Arabia? Because eventually Israel was very much willing to be part of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Now, as things stand today, I think any kind of future corridor absolutely goes for a toss. So let's understand, Israel, I may not know this, but I hope the Israeli government knows what is their end game in mind. If the end game is completely to decimate Gaza and annihilate everybody, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to replace Hamas with an Israeli government over there. If they are expecting that everyone will cross over from Rafah into Egypt, that's also not going to happen. So what is their end game? What is the deadline? That is a question mark. And if they're hoping and desperately trying for Europe, for United States to get into the war directly, if the Iranians come in and attack, then it's a very, very dangerous situation. And from where it will be some kind of a
but would
point
they want
of no
that?
return.
Would they want that? General Katoch, the troops, IDF troops, have withdrawn from southern Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear that this does not mean that there will be any ceasefire or an end to the war. How do you see this? And how long can Israel, do you think, afford to extend this war?
Thank you, Shreya. Shreya, I think the question has to be reframed in a slightly different manner. Can Israel afford to stop fighting till such time as its prisoners are still there with the Hamas? Now, that is something which is going to be unacceptable to the people of Israel and to the government of Israel. So, unless there is some sort of a deal as far as the prisoners are concerned, I do not see actually the war ending. No government in Israel can actually afford to say, okay, we will stop this war and let the prisoners remain as they are. So that is point one.
But General Katoch, he's also facing pressure domestically. There are protests happening in Israel against Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop this war. How long can he go on with it?
But imagine
globally,
if he
he's been facing and he's been retorting to the statements coming from different countries. But domestically?
No, I agree. Domestically, there is a problem. But that problem, I think the government of Israel can handle. The question is, if you have a ceasefire and they go in for some sort of a truce without the prisoners coming back, that is going to be a situation which is going to be far more complicated for Israel. They can't afford that. Having said that, I think the time has really come now for them to look at other means. I think the world needs to pressurize both Israel and Hamas. It cannot be a one-sided pressure to stop the war. Hamas has to be told to give back the prisoners, and Israel will have to be told once the prisoners are back, there will be a ceasefire. I think that is the only way in which it is going to happen. Otherwise, in some form, this conflict will continue. Now, regarding withdrawal from southern Gaza, that is all right. That doesn't really matter. I don't think the Israelis were interested in really taking hold of that territory. They are still very firmly ensconced in the north, and a lateral road has also been constructed there to facilitate the supply of troops and to cut off the Hamas from that region. So, in my view, while the conflict may reduce in intensity for some time, I do not see an end in the immediate future. Shreya.
Which is interesting that you say, General Katoch, that the intensity of the conflict might reduce for some time, because that is one of the big concerns, Pathikrit, that, after this Damascus strike, Iran has been saying that we'll respond, and there are concerns that this might now intensify and spread across the region.
Well, it has already spread. The Houthis are directly involved in the war. Hezbollah is involved. Let me tell you two things. I think General Katoch is right. And I agree with him, and I said the same thing. Truce is not a possibility. The question is, if there is a third-party mediation, there can be some exchange of prisoners. But neither Hamas will stop plotting the next terror attack, nor Israel will entirely give up, entirely the fight against Hamas. The issue is this. Today, Israel has withdrawn the troops, but their artillery shelling and drone attacks or use of aerial firepower, that will continue. They are anticipating a major attack from Iran, and I think some kind of messaging also has gone for United States, especially in the election year, where it is becoming extremely difficult for United States president to sell the idea that whatever Israel is doing is absolutely justified. So I'm saying, from the perspective of politics, it does create problem. Yes, the potential possibility of Iran directly doing something, I think that's one of the reasons they have withdrawn the troops, because troop casualty, as well as the fact that people are protesting there primarily because they want the prisoners out, not as much as that the war should entirely end. War or animosity from either side is not going to end, but the collateral damage is becoming so very profound in the future for Iran to get any kind of support from other Arab states to continue it with its business momentum. I think beyond the point is going to be challenging, even for the die-hard Israeli supporters from other countries, especially countries I'm saying. They might abstain in United Nations voting against Israel on any resolution. But I think some messaging is being sent secretly that, listen, you have to tone down when it comes to civilian casualty. Nobody is saying that Hamas should be spared. But the issue of collateral damage is becoming unsustainable, even for very strong allies of Israel to actually support. I think something has to be done to bring that down.